Hello, everyone. What happens when it's that time of the year, right? When you feel like enough is enough. I need just a little bit of a reprieve till the next year, till we start again. And it's only in a few days' time. Well, remember, these are timeless shows, but just for now, what do you do? And what if you have other issues that are driving you crazy and sometimes things just don't work out the way you want them to work? Well, today we're speaking to Osa again. Now, you'll remember we did all those beautiful shows that will be on a playlist, all those beautiful twin soul shows that we did previously. But we're going to twist this around a bit and change it up a bit because Osa has this very interesting challenge. But before we go into that, let's ask that question again. What do you do when you feel like you need a reprieve? You need a break. It's enough. It's enough, enough, enough. I don't want this anymore. What do you do? Hello, Osa.
Hi there.
How are you today?
Well, it's one of those days where we had some technical issues, right? And Mercury has gone retrograde, even though I wanted that to not be in focus. And it's been, well, yesterday and the day before for me was really one of those times when I just, that just, like you said, enough is enough. Yes. And I did something yesterday that really helps me, no matter how exhausted. And I'll share that a little bit if we, get into that. And it truly did. And it was me being out in the mountains in nature. So that removed some of that.
What did you do? Did you actually shout into the mountains?
So no, I did not, even though that's kind of what I wanted to do, but I also don't want to get arrested or, whatever else can happen there. It is a wonderful thing sometimes, that's the thing. We need to get things out sometimes in ways that are to release frustration, anger, tension, so sometimes if you can scream, that can help people. Some people, the whole screaming into a pillow, right?
Yeah, oh yes, that works wonders.
Sure. Or, smack a pillow or whatever you can be. And also screaming out on the mountaintop. And I actually have done that before, but now I was in a place where there's also a lot of other people. And, for me, just to be out there, be in nature, and after rain with the aromas and just, I'm always very connected. And that's like my church, my peace,
yes,
my grounding. And and then something really beautiful happened. But it makes more sense if I share that once we get to start talking about maybe certain things. Or maybe I should. Should I share it?
Yes, share the story, okay. and then we'll go back and
get into that part. Yeah. So I always talk to the angels and call on them, and yes. I was sitting up there once I got up to a top and kind of away from some of the other people that were on the trail. I just sat there for a while and just soaked it in, and you have a beautiful ocean view there. And so I just sat there for a bit and I just talked to the upstairs management, if you will, and in different ways and called on them. And I was just about to call on, I have a grounding technique that I always do out there, not just there, but I always do it there. And it also involves Archangel Raphael, which is assigned to me, and he's the master healer angel.
Yes.
And also Michael, Archangel Michael, who's the protector and cuts out stuff.
Angels I work with all the time.
It's a beautiful thing, and to feel and imagine their lights. Like Raphael has the green healing light, and Archangel Michael has like the bluish, purplish, whitish a little bit too. So I was just about to call on them more, and then this guy rolled up on a mountain bike right sort of behind me, kind of to the side on this top where I was sitting.
Yes.
And he says, "Hi." And with a very just beautiful energy. And I said, "Hi," I'm very friendly and I talk to people. But I was sitting there to be to myself, right? But he just kind of swooped in like a light. And so we started talking, and I just said, "Beautiful, isn't it?" And then we just started talking, and guess what? His name is Michael.
I love it.
I have chills right now. And there were 2 butterflies, and that has a deep meaning for me. And they also signifies transformation. They were, the whole time we were talking, they were dancing and playing with each other and chasing each other in between us. And so it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. And Michael happens to be working at the Self-Realization Center, if you're familiar with that, which is below there. You can actually see it from above.
Wow.
So yeah,
I haven't been there yet. That's one of my stops next year.
Yes, I highly suggest it. It's beautiful. It really is. And in this work, there in Pacific Palisades, there are several ones. I mean, I take it you would go to the one in San Diego.
There's one in Encinitas, yes.
Encinitas, okay, yeah. So this one in particular, it has a lake and a waterfall, and always a couple of swans.
Oh wow!
And it's just and swans, they
it just links up to our
twin soul.
Twin souls.
Yes, they make for life.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just and just to reflect back on that, no matter what happens in the twin soul connection, it is an unconditional love.
Yes.
That for the soul.
Yes.
So that, just to mention that again, that is always there. And this particular soul also that I have been, that we talked about and that I have my experience with, just to mention that beautiful, beautiful soul and amazing human being in many ways. And again, I really wish and hope that the healing from everything, from traumas and throughout this life will take place, so that can really shine all the way through. Yeah,
I love that. That's beautiful. So I have to go back. Of course, like I said, I do when I do my coaching, it's a very eclectic approach, and I use spiritual practices as well. And I work a lot with the angels, and specifically Archangel Michael for protection, and of course Archangel Raphael, because I'm like a conduit for the healing, right?
Right.
Which is beautiful. So just to take it from there to this beautiful synchronicity, we'll have to take it a step. We'll have to go a step back and say, why? What was it that? Why did you have to bring in the angels specifically at that point?
Yeah. So I guess I'll just come out and say it. This is a subject and what I have been dealing with for 2 years and 4 months, which. By the way, this Michael on the trail was saying, when I actually mentioned this, he said, "Well, you sure are on a journey, aren't you?" And
yes.
And he also said there are some yogis that have had this happen. So he just kind of So here it is.
Let's hold that for one moment. I just want to sorry, just as you were saying that, we have to remember as well that we get messages all the time through people. So when the angels or when God or the universe or whatever you believe in wants to speak to you, or the divine, they speak to you through people, right? And give you gifts through people or animals or nature. And I think it's just a reminder at this point so that we can understand the whole context of what you've said. Okay. Back to your story. Apologies for interrupting you.
Yeah, no. I mean, we're free flowing here, right? So, and that's I'm very open to signs and synchronicities, and you know, if you aren't, then you miss a lot of things. Now, sometimes it can be like, well, what does this mean? Or, well, what you know, it's up for interpretation and so on. But this was just such a strong sign, and also given what he said. So here it is, and this is also a subject that's extremely. It's a vulnerable thing. It's a very vulnerable thing, and so. In September, end of September of 2020, I completely lost the ability to sleep. So, and it's beyond insomnia. I have talked a little bit about it on my social media, but I haven't gone into a lot of details because it's been such a journey, a nightmare, intense. And it's taken over my life.
I'm not surprised. Yes.
Yeah, and also people in general who hear about it, they don't know what to do with it, because also I guess you don't see it on me.
No.
And people, even professionals in the field, specialists and so on, they're like, I've never had anybody like you in here. And they are in wonderment of, first of all, I have never once hallucinated.
Wow, that is like crazy, because
Right, because there are people who don't sleep for 3 days and they hallucinate.
Yes, I've experienced that, where I've where I've been sleepless, and wow, I've experienced hallucinations, and of course that also is up for interpretation. So let's just leave it at that for now.
Right.
Continue. So I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Right.
And it's interesting.
And just to give a little bit of a backlog, like, this is beyond insomnia, right? Like, literally losing the ability to sleep. And people are like, well, once you're exhausted enough, you'll shut down and you'll sleep. No.
Wow.
So obviously I'm not going to get into every single detail about everything, what it's done, and everything that I have tried, and so on. But I'll mention some things, of course. And also the frustration is that anytime you do talk to somebody about it, I mean, to be frank, I am so sick and tired of this too, in a sense. And now here today, I'm talking about it like this, because part of me, I'm just like, I'm so done. Like, yes. I'm done. And because it is a nightmare, it has been torture. And I guess there is something in me that, first and foremost, I have not hallucinated. I have not gone insane, but it feels like you're about to. And I had insomnia pretty badly on and off before this for 20 years or so, a little over 20 years. In bouts, I could still sleep some.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And when that happened, I was kind of a hard case with that. Things that works for other people, it just simply didn't work for me. But then whatever did actually work, in 2017, I found something. And with this, in 2 years and 4 months ago, everything just stopped working. Like, nothing was working. And believe me, I have tried things, and I have gone to places that I would never go to and put something in my body that I never would. And that alone would alter a person. And here I am, where people are like, what is going on? I can drive the car like a race car driver, and that would usually be the opposite, right? Like I'm super, super sharp. And I have many examples of this.
I want to ask you something. Sorry to.
Yeah, no.
What was it? Do you remember the time when they just switched?
Yes.
Where it was like, what happened?
Yeah. So I'll take it back. I'm tying it back in a little bit here. This is not the only reason, but it triggered it, and
Yes.
this had to do with the twin soul, twin flame, whatever, this past life person that's had a huge impact. And I've had a lot of experience with. So something happened this day that, and again, here I'm not going to go into details, but something happened there where it triggered some kind of something, it's a buildup of many things. Being a very sensitive empath, living in this pressure cooker of a time when everything is so extremely pressing and enhanced, right? And then along with finding something out that really kind of hurt me, I guess, a little bit in my soul, and jarred something in me, in the nervous system. And even though, again, this is not logic, right? It's not logic, and it's tying into so many different things. But it had me worried about something else. And even though, I'm very good at working on things and, all that stuff when it comes to the mental, things coming in there, and emotionally handle things and so on. But it triggered something in me that was so deep. And going back to traumas in past lives, that was one thing. And and also tying it into this, the beauty of what I know this connection has been and is, and then kind of being completely taken out of that in the physical reality here and now.
Yeah.
And I knew, because I am an extremely intuitive being, right? I knew right away. The different components. Even though I probably don't know all of them specifically, I've been trying to find that last piece of the puzzle in so many different ways. And but that was it, and literally overnight, this happened. And in the first week, just to mention some human things here now that we also deal with, I lost 4 pounds in a week. And that's a lot for me. And eating. I'm an eater. Like, I'm not somebody who doesn't eat. So that's been one thing, physical thing that's happened with me in all of this. I went down, and then I have truly been tested in this, and how I've had to, beyond exhausted, having to stand up for myself, with, say, the medical field. And, one of them, when you turn to different, I always go to natural and healers, but then we also have certain limitations in ways. I will mention that I did go fairly early on, at the end of 2020. I went to a hypnotherapist, and I figure, maybe something in that subconscious that I haven't gotten to tie the pieces together to help this. And I interview them, and I go by feel and intuition. And this guy, I really liked him, and he has helped a lot of people with severe sleep, insomnia, and so on. I mean, again, people haven't really heard of this But so I went to see him, and I was very open and hopeful. And he ended up saying, after talking with me for an hour and a half, that I've never had anybody like you in here. And the fact that you're talking to me like you do and you haven't slept, I'm amazed here. But he was confident that he was going to be able to help me. You talk first before you go into the hypnosis.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And then we did it, and it was lovely and everything. And he even said, "Hey, if you fall asleep, that's great." And I didn't, but I was very relaxed, and and so on. So we did it again, and about a week and a half, 2 weeks later. And he ended up saying, I have to say that your level of knowledge in the subconscious is so great, and what you have been and are going through, that if I did stage work, I would hire you as my first inspirational speaker to speak, which is nice to hear and everything.
Beautiful, right.
But yet it didn't, and it's helped me to degrees, and I still listen to the recordings at night, but ultimately didn't get me to it. So that's a little bit about that, and I dropped quite a bit of weight. I mean, I'm a fitness person, and I was quite so yeah. I went down, and then so much life and testings and one thing after the other, privately and then in the collective, continuously, every single day, relentlessly. And for me also, the environment is huge. And I will mention that part, because that happened on Christmas Eve. What this has resulted in too is that I do have PTSD.
I'm not surprised. Yes.
Right. And where I live, and I'm very grateful for this place and so on, but it's not conducive to my sensitivities. And across the street, and I haven't been able to, everything that this has caused, and then in the world, and not being able to move in ways that I need to overall for my overall well-being. They have set off, this is an area where they have set off the M80s incessantly, the fireworks, like it was every single night and into the morning.
Wow.
And nothing was done about it. So then to deal with this, and it's basically torture time to get to bed, and that's what I need the most. And then that's going on. So frankly, I'm just going to say, I don't know how I'm still sane. My human self is saying, how are you still sane?
Exactly. How are you still sane?
I'm not sure. Maybe I think it is very much a part of, I mean, people have been saying that you have some strength that I would have been gone. And people also, I mean, people who has experienced severe sleep deprivation, I mean, some people, they are not around anymore.
No, not around to tell the tale. No, of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
So I have sort of also been saying that, okay, I have survived this and gone through it for reasons, right? I definitely accepted that.
Yes.
But it has been a living hell at times, for sure. And then there are better days. And then, but just the feeling of nothing works. And even if you can deal with it to whatever degrees, to not get a break by sleeping, that is something that's, I can only describe it so much, right? But it's been extremely intense, and then I'm gonna say, I am so great, and I've been treated like F I don't want to say it here, but also by some people in this that I have contacted, and also people in the medical field who has been, oh, but I can help you. And they're like this, and people have heard about me. I haven't sought them out, but they've heard about me. And because it's a unique case, then it's like, oh, I want to jump in, so like a chief of a department and, and all of this. And then I guess I'm just going to come out and say it when they can't just like throw pills at you or whatever, then their egos are blown. And when I also, because I do have a lot of knowledge about the human basic health and foundational health, and when I ask questions and request certain tests and all of this, I have been treated. I mean, I've again, it's been, some have been really wonderful, and I know that they want to help, even if they don't know how. And even a past life regression person that I met on the trail, actually, and I'm like, well, this is a sign, isn't it? Because of what I'm dealing with. And
yes.
wanted to help. Like, this came up by way of us. I was going to guide them to another part of the trail. And it came up, and it said, do you know of Dolores Cannon? And I said, yes, I do. Well, she's like the staple of past life regression and therapy and all that.
Yes, I didn't know that she was. I mean, I just did past life regression. It was something that just happened while I was doing healing a few years ago with people. Yeah. So it's quite interesting that she's the forerunner of it.
Yeah. So he really wanted to help me. He said, let's talk on the phone and see what we can do. And I'm like, of course, so, and he ended up, I guess, without going into details, his ego was blown when I said certain things that I'm experiencing. He even called me names.
Whoa.
And I mean, this is a person who's working to help people and getting paid to do so. And if I wouldn't have had, I guess, the strength and seeing through what was happening that he was projecting onto me.
Yeah.
He could have set me off.
Yes.
It's been extremely intense, and I'm gonna give a shout out to the people in my life who has stuck around, because people have also fallen away. They don't know, not for ill will reasons, but they just, it's so peculiar. And I, even in my roughness, I'm because I'm so empathic, and I see and feel that at the same time, and I understand it. Yes. But then it almost becomes too much, because I need to let go of all that and just be in what I am and say, well, now I need to be understood, and whatever helped. But that keeps working. It doesn't stop.
Yes.
So it's definitely been a journey, and and not being believed sometimes, which is also, of course, I don't care what people think. They don't walk in my shoes. They don't, and I don't wish this upon anybody. But it's still, when you're so exhausted and you're barely surviving. And again, I'm a super healthy person, right? So people are like, well, but this is illogical. Well, this is in your, this and that in your system, and in your, people, you get so tired. I mean, I appreciate anybody trying to give guidance and information, and maybe, oh, have you tried this? And maybe oh my God, I mean, the exhaustion of what I have tried, and then ultimately nothing is really fully working. So shout out again to the people who have really have had compassion, and even though they don't understand, because how do you understand this fully, they still get it and hold space for me, and help with whatever they can. So
And I have to say, I love that. But also, I think as you were speaking, it came to me that you're going along this journey, and it's your journey, and I'm sure you're learning so much self-compassion as well as you're going along the way.
you have to. You're forced to, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also you're seeing people, a lot of people, for who they are, but also I think you're allowing people to see themselves for who they are. So these people that you see that come into your life, that try to that want to do things and then shy away out of fear because their egos are burst.
Right.
Hopefully they can get something out of it and grow from it,
Right.
But of course, everyone does what they want to do. I mean, I'm just speaking from my model of the world, right?
Right. Yeah.
Everyone comes. But even for you, I'm sure you've learned a lot coming into contact with these people for yourself. So you've become more in tune with with the authenticity of people, right?
Right. And that's the thing, like in a sense, my spiritual gifts and have enhanced more in ways
Yes.
going through this. So absolutely, and I understand that's part of it. And also just allowing people to be who they are. Like I haven't, I've let. I mean, sometimes it's been very painful, right? And of course, I'm a human being, and
Yes.
and even though I understand and read where things are coming from, I still have needs for for connection and for care and for and all of that. So it sometimes it has been extremely painful. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, well, there's nothing more to say or do, or you just release it. So there are always different levels of that. And just to, since we're on the subject of fear, and breaking away from that. I mean, obviously, all human beings have some kind of fear that's been programmed into us, or that's been, no matter what it is, and different levels of it. Because when we come into this world, we have two fears as humans, right? The fear of falling and loud noises. Everything else gets adapted. And I mean, of course we have to be alert, and we have to be, but fear, the what we really need to break through, right? And what we're here for as well.
Yes.
So just to refer back to what I deep in my soul, since this has a lot to do with what I carry with me from past lives and so on. And when you are an old soul and an empath, we do take on a lot of responsibility, because we have these things that we carry with us, and we want to help so much too. And so it does become too much sometimes. And I'm not somebody who, I set boundaries, and that I have, of course, done even more so through this process by way of just simply having to. But I have never been somebody who lets myself be trampled on, and what have you. So what I have found is my soul and what I have been through, and over again in different ways, and now what's really exploding in humanity in this awakening, and everything is so potent and in your face, is that I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe in this human experience. Soul-wise, I'm just like, please let my soul just be free to, I have in my waking hours, pleaded and begged, and like, please let my soul now be done here, and my work as a light worker in this life. Like, I want to fully enjoy and be here, what I'm here for on this beautiful planet.
Yes.
And what I know I'm here for. But after I'm done in this human body, please let me be, somewhere else. So, and also, like, wake up, people, wake up. Like, I have literally called out, I'm awake for you. And, I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, it's just literally like, being so alert, because there's just so much going on that people really need to wake up to. What for us to go on and evolve and survive as a species, and freeing our souls from a lot of entrapment programming and so on.
Yes.
So I haven't felt safe, deep in my being. And then what triggered that, the twin soul thing, and then having been through, and I have known this for years, right? So that was something that I already had there. But when I was hanged as a man of the church 152 lifetimes ago for speaking up. And so all of this has carried with, and then people might say, well, but let that go. And I mean, it's not like I go around and living it, but because of this high pressure time that we live in, we are living in a spiritual war. It's like a warfare on a higher consciousness that we need to collectively bring about, and very fast. Because we haven't heeded the call collectively, what we need to do. So now it's like this, it's just like raining down upon us.
Yes.
And the beings, this is unfortunately what's happened with me and my physical manifestation. And again, I'm an extremely healthy, like, there's so many things that I work the opposite of many norms. And that's also frustrating, of course, because I wish it would be easier. So if you want me to, going back to the story about meeting Michael up on the mountain.
I love that story. And it makes, I think it makes a whole lot of sense considering what you've been speaking about. But what I'm thinking now is like, what do you do? So what do you do? Do you just, and I know this is practical and it's a minor question, but it's coming up in my head.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, because I know like sometimes I sleep very well, so sorry. But sometimes when I do have those nights, I just like, whoa, what am I going to do? So what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I started going through it in the beginning, I mean, obviously you get kind of like, yeah, what do you do? Like, your mind is going 1,000 miles an hour, yet you're trying to quiet it down.
Yes.
And you work, I mean, what I haven't tried, I mean, I've been taking walks outside in the middle of the night. I have been reading books. I have been, I even have had the something on the TV, not getting on the computer and the electronics, and that I have never been, that's really bad, for me. But you try just about anything that you can think of.
Of course.
And so and I do breath work, and I do, because it's about slowing everything down. I mean, and that's also why, for me to fully come out and talk about this, right? I have been meaning to do it for quite some time, but it is also being extra, and I don't mind, being vulnerable, because there's an immense strength in being vulnerable, and we need to be so.
Yes.
And I always invite that in with people that I am a healer by nature, and so it's not about that, but obviously what you can get coming toward you, and I already have had so much. And then, when people, and many with goodwill, right? Well, have you tried this? Oh, but this might be wrong in your diet, or this and that. And I'm just like, sometimes you just literally want to scream, because it's like, you think I'm just sitting here, like, not trying or doing anything, and as aware and as healthy as I am in general, like, literally, I think maybe part of also my super healthy lifestyle through life, and being an athlete and nature lover and being out there, that has helped immensely. And having a strong emotional foundation. And, but again, it's, and then you just, when it gets to be so overwhelming that you literally don't know what to do with yourself. The always, to, no matter how hard, but that's what I've had to do a lot of. And of course, that's not just dealing with something like this, right? What we all need to do is to only be in the present moment.
Yes.
And to do everything possible, whether it's pattern interrupts, and if that doesn't work, to whatever you can do to bring yourself just into the present moment and surrender. And I have also said, even though it hasn't made sense, because I know what I'm here for, and there's so much more, I have just said, well, if this is how I'm gonna go over back on the other side, then I surrender to it. And I can tell you I'll tell you one thing that happened, and that was on Halloween of 2020. I was and it had been going on for like 5 weeks. And I was so out of it and so exhausted. And I felt, my body felt like it wanted to purge. So I basically crawled to the bathroom, and I went through the motion of throwing up. I have never been somebody who throws up easily like that. I've had stomach flus and, in my life, and food poisoning. But other than that, like, I'm not somebody who easily throws up. I never, And I went through the motions, but nothing was coming. And what came to me was, and what I called out to my friend, like, I felt like I was purging for humanity. Like, I'm trying to purge the darkness. And of course, I have seen and felt a lot of dark.
Sure.
Wow. So that was an experience in itself. I could sit here all day and talk about it, even though I don't want to do it. But I'm just throwing out things that comes to mind. And and where I have done best, and what I have said actually from the beginning, but I couldn't really do it, just temporarily, which wasn't enough, right? But nature and the mountains, that's my church, my peace, my healing, my grounding, where I feel most connected. And just so earlier this year, and this is also after my dear father passed away right before the holidays last year, which of course then added on more.
Yes, I know, man.
And he had a big fight all of last year, and I did fly home at the beginning when he got critical. So all of that, caked on, and having those experiences too with him and through him, and what I saw happening, a lot of mistakes there when I was at home, and standing up for that. And actually, having knowings that I possibly couldn't know, which, my family could, anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But
Yes.
I went up, I'm like, I'm not going to make it. And then being in an environment where there's so much constant noise, and I am sensitive to all of that too, to begin with. But then everything amplified times 1,000, or whatever number, So, I'm like, I need to get up in the mountains, and not just for a few days or for a week. Or so in March, I went there, and I was in really, I was about to not make it a few days before, but I somehow got through packing up, and it was a snowstorm coming in a couple of days later, but I got a cabin, and I'm like, it's kind of do or die. And I made it up there, and that's where, on my worst days, and also something that I took upon to do myself there, that should actually not be done and as quickly as I did, something that I was on some heavy duty stuff to get some induced sleep, where I had tried so many different things. And again, nothing was really working for me, and stuff that would put out a big dude or a horse, or, so I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I went, even when I couldn't sleep, I went off of that. And even on my worst days, and because I'm not reacting like normal people or the norm with those things in a good way, I also didn't have the side effects that people can.
Yes. Oh, that was good. Wow.
Yeah, some I did lose. I guess I'll mention it. I lost a lot of hair, which is also stressful when you see a lot of hair falling out. And you're already exhausted and overwhelmed, and not bald, but just like, a lot of hair. So, but I did it, and in a few weeks' time, and this is something that would be months, and I'm also taking it for sleep, so even on my worst days there, and I'm in solitude, and I'm to myself, and on the better days, I went up hiking in the snow up to 8,000 feet, and people are like, how are you doing this? What is going on here? I didn't sleep better, even though I was on an 8-mile hike, all day.
You would have thought so.
Yeah, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
But that's where I do my best. And then the last month, I started finding a tiny bit of sleep, because literally my system has forgotten what it's like to sleep. Like it's very scary. You logically, and you feeling, visualizing, like all of this, you try to remember what it feels like. It has, like, yeah.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a work in progress for sure.
Wow.
And I'm still not out of it, by any means. And but it did, that part, like, as little as it was, the kind of sleep, the little bit that I got, it gave me some kind of, it could be 45 minutes or an hour, and then it was like spotting, like I lay in bed, and I listen to the hypnosis sessions sometimes, and and just to soak up being there in nature and in the quiet, not having all the external noise that goes on in the city.
Yes.
So yes, it's just been so many things. So it's hard to just Like, what do you do? Like anybody, and I hope and pray that there aren't many people, if anybody out there, with this severity. But I do know that insomnia is something that's been amplified in humanity overall,
Yes.
because we live in such a fast pace. We have information come at us with all this technology constantly. So
Yes.
people have more tendencies to not sleep as well.
Yes. Yes. With all the noise and all the stress and
Yeah.
yes. Well, I love the story, and I mean that sounds horrible. But you know what I'm saying? It's just so interesting to see how you've coped through all this, and you're still like, look at you, you're great, you're alive, you're alert. I mean, beautiful, and all those things.
Well, thank
So,
you.
what I'd like to know is, I'd like to know how other people deal with insomnia. And I mean, yours is an extreme case, right? It's an
Right.
extreme case.
Right.
It would be interesting to see what other people are doing,
Right.
because there's always something out there that maybe you haven't heard of. And who knows? I'm just putting it out there.
Right. Right.
And I'd like to do another show on this, because I'd like to share my opinion on this
Right.
as a healer.
Right.
But that's for another show, right? What do
Yeah.
you think about that, Osa?
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about it some more. You know, I and what I said to you when we had this plan, right, that we were gonna get to this is, you know, also the other day, like 2 days ago, when I wanted to just like I said, you know, dealing with people who, like, I have to repeat myself, like I'm very clear on what I'm saying,
Yes.
and yet it's as if, because it's so beyond their scope. And by the way, I have done a sleep study. I have, you know, like, and I have willingly done some things, even though intuitively I'm just like, this is not going to be it. But still, if there's any kind of piece of information or answer or something that can help along the way, then, you know. But for me, it's big time also environment, and
Yes.
you know, and also what I want to mention is, I have seen a lot of people talking about empaths lately that yeah, there might be people who are saying that they're empaths when they are maybe really not, because you don't fully understand. But then there are people who are, you know, trying to say that, oh, you just don't have boundaries, or you have unhealed trauma from childhood or whatever. I don't have traumas from childhood, for example, like some do. That are, you know, again, obviously we have traumatic events, all of us, just being born into this human manifestation. I mean, think about how we come in. We get ripped out of our comfort, right? And they cut off what's been nurturing us right away. And if we don't scream or cry or whatever, then we get a little spanked or whatever. So I'm just giving it as like, the human experience has traumas by way of just coming into the human experience. But it's always about coming back to our souls and to really connect into that. And then with a ton of out of body experiences and the spiritual connections with passed on people, and, you know, so on, I'm very comfortable there. But there's something in this, you know, with the physical, that is that little missing piece, of really getting, like, I'm not somebody who, I have never been an anxious person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can be stressed over everyday life, but I have never had anxiousness. I have never had mental issues. I have never, you know, any of that, which comes up, and with, you know, with people and when you talk to them. So, you know, again, it's, I just want to mention that for people who are trying to squash other people's experiences because they don't understand it,
Yeah.
and they haven't felt it or been it, and they try to logically explain things away, I just say this is the time to be more open-minded and more open-hearted, and understanding that we all have different gifts, different tendencies, different things that we experience that perhaps some other people don't. But we also have the same human needs. So yeah, I just wanted to, I felt that it was important to come in and say that because of also what I have had come at me.
Yes,
I wouldn't choose this, right? I wouldn't choose this.
No, of course not. No, but what I'm saying is, I think we need to come from a point of, well, let me speak for myself. It's always like easier, like come from a point of each to their own and no judgment.
Right.
And if we can each feel that and embrace people for who they are, and embrace people for, like, this is your path, this is your life, it's not the same as mine, yet I can be there open-handed and hold space for you, and if you need me, I'm here.
Right.
Just know that. And I think that's possibly the best place to be, because it's always so easy to say, you know what, I'm here, and I know, and I've done that so many times. I'm here, I can help you, and people go like, no, go away, because you just want to, because you know that you just want to give that love, and sometimes it's intrusive. People don't want it. And we need to understand that and say, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person if I don't want to throw this at you. I'm here for you. And understand that if you need me, I'm here. My arms are open. I'm here. I'm a phone call away, or StreamYard away, or actually we're quite close together. We could meet halfway between LA and San Diego and chat, or just be there for each other.
And I think we will at some point.
Yes. And I think that's probably what the biggest lesson for this show is right now. For even Break Fear, Find Freedom, it's about that.
Yeah.
And if people, and if one person can heal from it, or two people, or whatever, it's a ripple effect, and that's beautiful.
Right. And actually, being an empath and having this always wanting to give of myself, that is also the part, and what we talked about in the previous episode also, and it doesn't just have to do with the soul connection, but just in every way, that because we also there is a pressure. I mean, I have worked with perfectionism in my life. I'm really going all in, and I've been so aware of it, and it takes work to chip away at, it's not about perfection. It's about striving for excellence and doing as best as you can.
Yes.
And when I have been even in my beyond exhausted states, I have still poured of me at times. And it's just, you also need to then, no matter how much your heart wants to, with whatever you have to help, sometimes you just, what you were saying, sometimes people don't want to be helped, or they want to stay in certain things, in certain stories, or in certain, it's, and if you directly can, and I'm actually talking about, I have a specific experience right now that's going on right now with a friend of mine who's an amazing human being, and who's in deep need with a lot of different help, without going into details. And, it's overwhelming because I'm also somebody who knows I'm like one of the only, well, I'm probably the only person who knows as much as I do about everything. And, you know, and I've had to sort of, I can only do so much.
Yes, yes, that's also true. Yes.
But when I'm offering what I can do, and if that's not being, oh no, I don't want to do, oh no, you have your stuff and you have your stuff, you know, then that's also that balance of, okay, well, again, if you offer somebody a gift and they don't receive it, who does the gift belong to? So,
Yeah.
you know, so I've really worked on that in this, because I care so much, and I know that there are some things I just simply cannot do for this person.
Yes.
But what I can do, I have offered. And if that's sort of being, no, but I don't want you to go out of your way, or I don't want, you know, like whatever the case is, then at some point, like I wrote in a message that I will be in touch no matter what I saw was written to me, which was extremely heavy, and that I could take on more, right? Being who I am at the core. I will be in touch.
Yes.
And this is what I will do if you allow me to. Beyond that, that's the surrender that that needs to happen.
Yes. Yes. And you see that once you surrender, everything changes and shifts. So I think on that note, we've been chatting so long and we could chat forever, but we will have a follow-up on this one, because we have to, because it's just calling for that. So for now, I'd say thank you very much, Osa. I know I just cut you so short. I'm so sorry. But that just adds excitement for the next one. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Osa.
Having me.
We will see you very soon.
Love and light. Namaste.
Love and light to you too. Bye, everyone.